Hey, welcome back. This is Josh, and today we're working on absolute value equations. Let's jump right into these. I got 3 of them up on the board. As always, if you feel like you can get the first one done with me, pause the video, try the other 2, see what you can do, and then come on back and let's solve these things together. The first problem here is x minus 2 is equal to 5. Now, when you're solving absolute value inequalities, or equations, these are equations, you're going to end up with 2 different answers. And I know that sounds weird, but you're kind of moving towards this type of math where there's going to be 2 solutions, 3 solutions, maybe even more than that. And it's going to be your job to check them, okay? So it isn't like you're just going to get one simple answer and then say, well, done, that was pretty easy. Now you're going to kind of step up and have to do a little bit extra. In order to solve these, you have to have those 2 values, or those 2 answers as a final answer that you come up with. And the way you do that is you do it in 2 different ways, okay? You rewrite the problem for I call them the positive and negative versions, or the plus minus. It's just a nice way to kind of separate the work, and so I remind myself with these as I do the work. So the plus version is just the same problem again without the brackets. X minus 2 equals 5. The minus version is the same beginning part of the problem, but instead of having a positive 5 here, we're going to change it to a negative 5. Now, I don't want to say you always just make it negative. I want to say that if this number is a positive 5, you do the opposite down here, or you write the opposite. If this is a negative 5 to start, then you write it as the opposite out of that, which would be a 5. And then you just solve the equation. So we isolate the variable by adding 2 to this side. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So x equals 7. Over here, same thing, add 2. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Again, I'm hoping you're seeing that these rules of math don't change. Maybe they slightly change, but for now they're pretty much the same through a lot of this Algebra 1 kind of stuff. X is equal to negative 3. Let's check our work and see if it actually proves this thing true. X is equal to 7. So let's plug in a 7. 7 minus 2 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is just 5. Does 5 equal 5? It does. Let's try this guy, negative 3. Negative 3 minus 2 is the same thing as negative 3 plus negative 2, which is negative 5, absolute value. The absolute value of negative 5 is just 5. Does 5 equal 5? Yes, it does. So we've worked through our first problem here. Now, I did kind of go quickly through like the rules and stuff, but once you get to the rules and you know that this guy is the same problem, this guy is the reverse or the opposite of that last value, the rest, this stuff, you should be pretty confident in, okay? This is not where I want you making your mistakes, because this stuff should be pretty solid by now. Solving equations for x, you should be pretty on top of that. So like I said, if you want, pause the video, try these 2 on your own, or maybe watch this guy and then, you know, kind of finish strong with that guy on your own. Let me erase this and jump into that next problem here. I'll write it a little bit bigger. 2x minus 7 minus 5 equals 4. Okay. You need to get rid of this guy before you can work with the absolute value. And the way you do that is you just add it or subtract whatever it is. You just do the opposite to make it a 0. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Now we can work on this. I'm going to rewrite it. Most of my students don't rewrite it at this point. They see it as unnecessary, but I'm going to do it because I'm the teacher and I kind of want to show you the most efficient way, or the most thorough way, I guess you could say, and kind of start from scratch again. So I'm just rewriting this part here, and now I have a new value for the right side of the equation. Now I can do my plus minus work. So the plus version is just the same thing. So 2x minus 7 equals 9. This guy is 2x minus 7 equals opposite -9. Now we solve our equation. So we add 7, we add 7, we get 2x equals 16, so x equals 8. Over here, we add 7 and add 7. 2x equals -2. Divide by 2. X equals -1. I know I went kind of quick through this stuff, but again, solving equations for x, you should be pretty solid on this stuff. If you aren't, I really think you should practice, okay? Because right now, I just want you picking up the rules having to do with absolute value stuff. Let's plug these in and check. Now, when it comes to plugging them in and checking, you do need to use that original equation. You can't just use stuff that you've worked on in the middle. So bringing it all the way back up to the top, let's plug in an 8 here. 8 times 2 is 16. Minus 7 is 9. Okay, absolute value of 9 is just 9. So 9 minus 5. So far so good. Let's try -1. -1 times 2 is -2 minus 7. -2 plus -7 is -9. Absolute value of -9 is 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. So it looks like that one's going to work as well. Now, that last step of checking your work, some books say check your work, some books say don't. I say, if you're learning this stuff, you might as well spend that extra. I mean, how many seconds did that really take? Did that take an hour? No. So if it only takes you an extra couple seconds for you to check your math, I would, because you're just learning this stuff. It's to your advantage. If you notice that one of these doesn't work, then you might need to go back. Did you write the opposite value here? Did you not add something correct in here? Maybe one of these is not correct, because once you plug it in, it's pretty obvious whether it's going to work or not. You know, I go through and check them, and it doesn't take that long. That's just my little public service announcement on why you should check your work. Okay, so if you get this one and it makes sense, I would definitely try this one on your own. And again, that's why I like to write them here, so that you can try some of this stuff while I'm talking and, you know, giving you all my opinions on everything here. Okay, so let me get this stuff out of the way, and let's move on to that last guy. And I purposely wrote it in that way so that you can see this. 4x minus 3 equals 4. First thing you need to do is what? Exactly. Move that guy out of here. Actually, I can't hear you guys, but I'm assuming that's what you said in your mind. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it. This is the step that I just encourage you to do it. Okay, it's just good practice. It's not like you're under like this super time crunch where you can't do 5 minus 4x equaling 7. Okay, it really doesn't take that much extra time. Now you can do your positive and negative versions. This guy is the same thing. So 5 minus 4x equals 7. This guy is 5 minus 4x equals -7. And let's solve. Got to get rid of this guy. -5. -5 is a 2. So -4x equals 2. Let's divide by -4. X equals, read our fractions down. This is where people make mistakes because they're going too fast. 2 divided by -4 is -1/2. And over here, let's subtract 5. What you do to one side, you do to the other. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have -4x equals -12. And then from there, we divide by -4, right? Isolate the variable down to a single unit. Divide by -4, read our fractions down. -12 divided by -4 is +3. Now, again, that's where it's helpful for you to check your work, because if you check your work, if this was a -3, it probably isn't going to work. And so if you get one but not the other, then that's when it's good for you to kind of say, well, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe there's something that I got to check. Okay, negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 times negative 4 is just a 2. 5 minus 2, 5 plus 2 is 7. Absolute value of 7 is just 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. Let's plug in a 3 here. We have 5 minus 12 is a negative 7. Absolute value, though, gives you a 7. And 7 minus 3 is 4. So that last checking part, I'm going kind of quick, but really just what I'm doing is I'm taking the value here and plugging it in for x, right? I plugged this guy in for x first, and I multiplied because now I have negative 4 times negative 1/2. If you're not good at that stuff, or you're allowed to use a calculator, then do it. The 3, I did the same thing. I plugged in a 3, so it's negative 4 times 3, which is what got me the negative 12. And then it was just 5 minus 12. Or you could even write it as 5 plus negative 12 if you wanted to. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you write it, whatever's going to work for you. So just to wrap up, I'm hoping that that helps you understand these absolute value equations. Check out my other videos and ask me questions, all right? Thanks for checking this one out. I'll talk to you later.